It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast. Coming to you here on this Wednesday morning, January the 8th, 2025, brought to you by Will US, the owner of Scoot Around, and by Chillie's Cruises. En route now to Lisbon. We'll get to that in a second. We've got a whole bunch of news stories today, folks, so I'll quickly run over the headlines that'll be heading your way. The lead story this morning, away from a cruise ship overturns a boat. Also today, Holland America to expand Denali. Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings appoints Jason Montague as Chief Luxury Officer. Proposed offer of senior notes. We're going to talk about sailing with the Temptations. Awesome. Non-alcoholic bar menu. A huge cell bill. Regal Princess Cancellation. Sandra's cruise tours and some hot water. Epic drops Corfu. AIDA ship skips Southampton. And Propulsion issues for another Carnival ship. Plus NCL Amplifies Asia. Told you we had a lot of stuff this morning. That and lots more here at 11 o'clock today. Today, folks, is National English Toffee Day. I like English toffees. That's okay. I think it's interesting, though, that this day in history, George Washington delivered the first State of the Union address to Congress in Federal Hall in New York City. Just surprised that you'd have English anything on a day of talking about George Washington. But that's me, some kind of conspiracy theory. Yeah, right. If you're listening via the podcast, welcome aboard. You can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcast from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the fat guy. So, if you are listening via the podcast and want to jump over to the video feed to see clips or interviews or pictures or whatever, you can always, there's always a link in the description of the podcast, so you can do just that. All right. So I mentioned that we are heading for Lisbon. As a matter of fact, right now, guys, we are as close to being in the center of the Atlantic as you can be. We're right square in the middle. It's a little dicey season, but it's a really nice day. Nice warm day. It's sunny. It's pretty choppy out there. Of course, we've got a major...
Your picture's frozen. I don't know if you can do anything.
My picture's frozen?
Sound is okay.
Sound is okay, but the picture is frozen. I'm not showing... in here, take that off and back on. I'm showing that it's moving. I don't know. Well, if you can hear me, you can hear me. If it's frozen, that has to be something with, the internet from the middle of the ocean. So, a couple days ago now, Captain comes on and announced that we're canceling Ponta Delgado because of the weather. That's the weather for Saturday. And this is like, I don't know, when it's Tuesday, I think. I don't know. I've lost track of days. Might have been Monday. Anyway, so I'm glad that the weatherman can accurately forecast weather 6 days in advance. However, I don't disagree with this. That's a humongous storm, folks. And if they miss it a little bit and it's not as bad as it looks like it could be at Ponta Delgado, they probably made the right call in keeping us the hell away from that storm because it's huge. My concern now is not so much, I clearly don't think they made a mistake, as much as I wanted to go to Ponta Delgado. I'll go along with the decision that they made. We haven't gotten a refund on the taxes and port charges yet, and they're doing a little bit of tap dancing. But we'll still keep hammering on that one. My biggest concern right now is that storm is so massive. I mean, we've got other calls to make in Europe on our way to Southampton. Depending on the movement of this thing, we could have problems at every call we make. So it's a pretty wicked looking storm, and it's huge. So saying that, getting that out of the way. All right. So before we get to the real news this morning, 2 people were found dead in the landing gear of a JetBlue commercial airplane that landed a couple evenings ago in Fort Lauderdale. There's rumors about that's a couple people that were trying to get a cheap Carnival cruise and snuck on the airplane, and then they were going to sneak on the boat. Just saying, that's a rumor. It has nothing to do with the news. That's a sad situation, but obviously some people tried to smuggle onto an airplane from JFK. So some of those crazy New Yorkers were trying to get on a cheap Carnival cruise in Florida and didn't want to pay for the ticket. I have no idea if any of that is true or not. Anyway. All right, so what else did I have for you guys this morning? It's been a pretty eventful cruise, actually, for me. We're going to have a story here in a few minutes that I was borderline getting in a little trouble with it, and I'll tell you about that when we get to it. But that all got worked out now, and I got that fixed, so no worries on that side of things. All right, so let's get on with the news since we got so many stories this morning. And I'll get to that right after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. All right, before we hit the news, that's the storm. And as you can see, that's a pretty big thing. Now, Ponta Delgado is like, from where the edge of that storm is to Spain's about right in the middle. But all that stuff from up the northern part of it, if that stuff moves west to east like most storms do, I mean, this thing could cover all of Europe. Every place we're going could have bad weather. And there's other storms and stuff along the coastline now. This could be I don't want to be a sayer of bad news, but clearly it's worth watching. Going to take advantage of some nice weather today here. Get outside a little bit. Got outside a little bit yesterday. It's pretty windy, but it's warmer today. It's up in the 70s today. What's getting bad? And by the way, if any of you know anything about wheelchair accessibility in Lisbon, let me know. Roger and I wanted to go out to a museum, and it requires a wheelchair accessible cab, bus, hop on, hop off, something. I've been able to find nada that's wheelchair accessible. And it's about, I think Roger said it's a couple miles. So a couple miles over, a couple miles back, and then rolling around the museum. I'd be probably putting the chair to its limits, which I'll do. I'm not totally opposed to that. But anyway, I still hope to get that worked out. So, all right. So the lead story today, folks, we're going to start off with this. 2 people and their dog were rescued over the weekend, but wake from a passing cruise vessel overturned their boat as they were sailing in Tampa Bay near Gadsden Point. Cruise passengers on board noticed the 2 survivors in the water and immediately notified crew members. Dan Hemmer, a Tampa Bay harbor pilot, was escorting the vessel from the port with Michael Strubos. Hemmer said that they were already moving too quickly to stop and reach the pair in time. The operation became more challenging as darkness settled around them. Riley, who was manning a nearby cargo vessel when the boat capsized, spotted the 2 individuals a few minutes after 6 p.m., just as the Coast Guard, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, and Hillsborough County Fire Rescue arrived. The 2 were caught on video clinging to a buoy about 200 yards from the overturned craft. Together with their dog, they were eventually moved to one of the rescue vessels. The survivors were reportedly injured and sent to Tampa General Hospital. 2 Royal Caribbean ships were outbound during the time of the incident. However, it was not reported which ship had caused the capsizing. Holland America, the cruise line with the longest history of exploring Alaska, announced a $70 million capital investment that will expand guest capacity while elevating the line's Denali property experience and enhancing its popular land and sea cruise tours. The investment will build on Holland America's position with more opportunities for glacier viewing and more ways to see Alaska's wildlife than any other cruise line. It's truly special that we can bring guests to a lodge at the doorstep of Denali National Park, said Beth Bodensteiner, president of Holland America Line. The investment is a win for Alaska, our guests, and Holland America. Enhancing and expanding the Holland American Denali Lodge will help meet the growing interest in combined land and sea cruise tours for our 49th state and further support the Alaska tourism industry. Key highlights of the expansion, 2025, the project will begin with enhancements to the Riverside Interpretive Trail with scenic viewpoints, improved on-site wayfinding, refined menu offerings for restaurants, and public space improvements for the Cottonwood and Canyon Lodge guest room buildings. 2026, the project will continue with 48 remodeled rooms in the Holland America Denali Lodge, a new coffee shop, and a remodeled Carson Public House with expanded indoor and outdoor seating to provide a more immersive experience. 27, the project will continue with the new guest room building, one with 120 suite and standard rooms, as well as a main lodge renovation that will include a new restaurant concept, a new lobby bar, and an enhanced coffee experience. 2025 and 2026 cruise tours are available for booking. If you're interested, all you have to do is call me. I'll be happy to get you hooked up. Cruise and tours. All right, we got some new leadership from Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings and their ultra premium and luxury cruise brand. Jason Montague has been appointed Chief Luxury Officer effective February 17th, overseeing both Region 7 Seas and Oceania. He capitalizes on his extensive industry experience and strong track record previously leading these brands. This appointment underscores Norwegian's focus on its charting the course strategy, which includes adding 5 new builds in the upscale brand's fleets and plans to refurbish nearly all of their existing vessels. Industry veteran and president of Oceania Cruises, Frank L. Del Rio, will report to Montague. President of Region 7 Seas Cruises, Andrea DeMarco, is stepping down after creating a brand new strategy that lays the foundation for a banner 2025. Congratulations to Jason Montague on his new position and to Region 7 Seas and Oceania.
Be on one of the first MSC ships to go to Alaska when we sail May 25th, 2026 on the MSC Poesia round trip from Seattle. 7 nights going to Ketchikan, Icy Strait Point, Juneau, and Tracy Arm Fjord, and a stop in Victoria, Canada on the way back to Seattle. Inside cabin start at $849 per person, balcony from $1289 per person. The MSC Poesia going to Alaska. Why not join us? I promise you we'll have a great time. Just call me, 434-258-9264, and we'll cruise with Chillie to Alaska.
All right, folks, I can take a quick break here. I don't know if any of you can see this on the screen or not, but the movement of my head, I'm holding my head perfectly still. That's the chair swaying back and forth to the waves. And it got over while this last story was playing. Oh, there we go again. It's where I'm completely leaning over almost in front of the television there. So, yeah, there's some, I mean, it's not bad rough throwing you around rough, but there's definitely some rough seas going on. I just thought I'd point that out that I'm swaying back and forth. So, where was I? Let's see here. Norwegian Cruise Line Corporation, a subsidiary of Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, announced today that it is proposing to sell $1.8 billion aggregate principal amount of its senior notes due in 2032 in a private offering that's exempt from the registration requirements of the Securities Act of 1933. Now, folks, this is over my head. Norwegian intends to use the net proceeds from the notes offering, together with cash on hand, to redeem $1.2 billion aggregate principal amount of the 5.875 senior notes due in 2026 and $600 million aggregate principal amount of the 8.375 senior secured notes due in 2028, together with any accrued and unpaid interest therein, and to pay any related transaction premiums, fees, expenses. The redemption of the 2026 senior notes and the 2028 senior secured notes will be conditioned upon the consumptions of the notes offering. Now, I'm not real sure what I said, and it's certainly boring to me, but it's a news story. Good for Norwegian, I guess. I got sunshine on a cloudy day. Oh, no. When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. Wow, that's one of the greatest songs of all time, guys. And it's coming up on another cruise. Princess Cruises will feature the famous 60s singing group, The Temptations. For the 60th anniversary, oh my God, I'm feeling old. 60th anniversary of the Temptations cruise, not just the group, sailing later this year. The legendary vocal group from Detroit gave passengers a taste of what's to come by performing their classic hit, My Girl, on the Discovery Princess last Saturday. Jill Whalen, the cruise line's celebrations ambassador and a star on the long-running Love Boat TV show, delivered the exciting news. Whalen is also expected to host the 60th anniversary cruise. Princess promises to reveal more details on the onboard events and special guests in the coming months. In other words, folks, they're going to keep putting it out a little bit at a time, so they got constant run of publicity. Don't blame them. I wouldn't mind going to that. I love the temps. Oh, my goodness. Great, great cruise. If you want to go, call me. I'll see if I can hook you up with tickets. Later, y'all. Speaking of Princess Cruise Line, Princess Cruises will be the first major cruise line to have a standalone non-alcoholic bar menu when they debut their Amore Princess Zero alcohol collection this spring. It will consist of 10 to 20 craft cocktails being developed by a collaboration team behind the world's #1 bar, that's Sips in Barcelona, Princess mixologist, and cocktail artist Rob Floyd. Non-alcoholic beer and wine will also be available. The new menu will launch this spring on all Princess cruise ships and will be included in the cruise line's Princess Plus and Princess Premier packages.
We have the equipment you need to stay mobile. Whether you need a wheelchair, scooter, power chair, rollator, oxygen, or other pieces of mobility equipment, Scoot-Around, powered by Will, can help. Once you've booked your rental, we can deliver it to wherever you need. For your mobility needs, contact me or call Scoot-Around at 888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137 for the best rates.
Princess Cruises has announced it has removed the September 5th Regal Princess Southern Caribbean Islander itinerary from its schedule, citing changes in the deployment program. Princess Cruises is automatically refunding all booked passengers. None will be rebooked using another Regal Princess option. A recent traveler who has remained anonymous purchased Royal Caribbean's onboard internet service, but failed to note that the service does not include cellular network access. Because the guests did not put their cell phone into airplane mode, their device continued to download updates, access locations, and otherwise work in the background throughout their sailing. Their child also used the phone to watch videos through the week-long sailing. This resulted in a $1,300 bill for roaming charges from their cell phone company, a nasty surprise and unwelcome shock to the post-cruise budget. Talk to your cell provider before you cruise and see if there is a quick and relatively inexpensive fix. AT&T had one for me, and I'll tell you exactly what it was, folks. I was racking up data charges to the point that AT&T suspended my data account and had me call them. A few minutes on the phone, and we came up with a plan while I'm out of the country. It's costing me $100 for 30 days, and I got unlimited calls, and I got a gigabyte of data. So, you know, for $100, that's better than $1,300, folks. Anyway, take this seriously. You can't just use your roaming your cell phone without the airplane mode on cruise ships anymore. I tried. Didn't work. Norwegian Epic has removed the Greek island of Corfu from its lineup for 2025. This marks the second consecutive year Norwegian will skip the port during the Mediterranean season. 2 new destinations replace the port during Norwegian Breakaways 2024 season. Epic will be redirected to Cotacalone, considered the gateway to ancient Olympia, and Argostoli, the seaside capital of Kefalonia, the largest of the Ionian Islands. AIDA Nova's first departure of the new year has already encountered difficulties with its first port of call, as poor weather has forced the ship to skip the destination. Homeported from Hamburg, Germany, and sailing many northern itineraries, these types of diversions are to be expected. AIDA Nova departed on Saturday for her 7-night itinerary, expecting to call first on Southampton in the UK yesterday. She didn't make it to Southampton. A little scary. We're heading there now. An independent cruise tour company that has had questionable practices in the past has now canceled the entire 2025 season with Carnival Cruise Line. Previously, hundreds of guests have been left without refunds from Sandra O'Leary of Sandra's Cruise Tours, despite the company's reassurances of its policies. It's unclear whether or not any travelers who have already booked with O'Leary this year will receive refunds. Sandra's Cruise Tour announced the cancellation on her website along with this explanation. It is with great disappointment I have decided to cancel any tours for the 2025 season with Carnival. Europe tour operators have changed their policies, and most are no longer willing to provide full refund if the ship does not call on port, O'Leary explained. O'Leary acts as a middleman for booking shore tours at various destinations. She coordinates with local tour operators to secure excursions, which she then sells to cruise travelers. However, the website also notes that tour refunds will be reduced by expenses incurred by Sandra's Cruise Tours. These expenses are listed as bank charges, postage, currency conversions, penalties assessed by tour operators, credit card fees, and pre-purchased entry tickets. Furthermore, O'Leary also states that the refund policy is not guaranteed. Wow, looks like we could have a big class action lawsuit coming on this one. Carnival Conquest is the latest vessel to develop a propulsion issue that made her late in returning to Miami on Monday. Due to the slower sailing speeds, the ship did not dock until approximately 10:30 a.m., which would impact sailors traveling onboard plans after debarkation, as well as upcoming guests boarding the ship beginning the next cruise. No word on status of repairs. However, earlier this morning, she was sailing at 19 knots, which really says nothing about her ability to reach 21 or 22 knots. That seems to be the area when these ships have problems. Norwegian Cruise Line is significantly amplifying its commitment to Asia. In a landmark strategic move, NCL is undertaking its most extensive deployment in Asia, stationing 3 ships in the region through March of 2026. The recently refurbished Norwegian Spirit already arrived to homeport in Singapore. Joining NCL's Asian fleet are the ships Norwegian Sun and Norwegian Sky.
Hey, solo cruisers, looking for a zero solo supplement? Here's one for you. The Norwegian Getaway 7-night sailing, departing from New Orleans on January 26, 2025. Double occupancy starts at $720 per person. Solos start at $720. For more information, just give me a call, 434-258-9264. Zero solo supplement on the Norwegian Getaway.
All right, guys, that's going to put an end to the news portion of today's show. So we'll go over and see who's fussing at me in the chat room. Tom says that I was kept freezing up and unfreezing and freezing up, but he seemed to think the audio was coming through at least. Becky Sampson's here. Good morning, Becky. What did you have for me? Excuse me? That's an ex-person. This is a travel and cruise a news channel, Becky. Steve's with us out in Kentucky. Hey, Steve. Oh, there's Hot Air Tom. Morning from Chillie Studio. On board the Bliss. Yes, indeed. There's Katie. Hi, Katie. You're supposed to be working. Always good to have you, Katie. Hot Air Tom says, nice view of my power cord running along the ceiling. Yeah, he got this place wired up like crazy. Katie says, picture's frozen. Yes, I know, Katie, and I'm not sure why at all. So there's Kenneth. Is there enough office space for you and Tom and cabin for all the electronics? Yeah, this room is huge and plenty of room for my chair. So, and I will say this about the Bliss, folks. As far as accessibility goes, the Bliss is very good. The main things that I'm always concerned about are, number one, public restrooms. There's 26 of them. And all of them are touch activated. All of them have adequate turning space. I was in one that's just a little small, but I was still able to take care of things, and it wasn't bad small. But it still was touch activated, in and out. But very adequate space. They're all part of the system on this ship. There's a bank of 3 restrooms at several locations on every public deck. There's a men's restroom, there's a women's restroom, and there's an accessible restroom. And the accessible restroom will vary back and forth from the women's side of the ship to the men's side of the ship. Whichever side the men's restroom are. Normally, let me think. The men's on starboard and the women's are on port in most locations. The accessible could be either way, either side. And it's generally right next door or right across the hall from the other restroom that's handy. It works out really well. Yes, it's coeducational, but those of us in the disabled community are used to that and have no problem with it. The only time we ever have problem is when somebody that is not needing an accessible restroom goes in there and ties it up for those of us that really need it for a reason. But that part of the Bliss is very good. I've talked about the horrible embarkation, which wasn't really necessarily the Bliss fault. It was just a combination of things made a really rough embarkation. My room is excellent, or I say our room. You guys know that I'm traveling with Hot Air Tom. Plenty of room. We haven't had any real problems.
You could take your camera and show them around behind like this way. And
well, that's a problem, Tom.
Oh, it is. Well, then don't.
So, yeah, let's see. That's going right over into the light.
Stay there, but
and
the area to over here is where I usually have the computer. I can see the TV and my printer. I'm looking out the doors. But so you didn't get glare on the show from my monitors, I moved around so I could see Chillie.
So anyway, I don't want to get that glare off the television again.
Your phone's up, so we didn't see it anyway.
Anyway, the bathroom is, everything's where it's supposed to be. neither one of us are real happy with the spigot in the sink. It's just kind of weird. But other than that, as far as shower and all that part of it, it's really great. Here's another ex-person. Fadari is Israel says hello. Joanne's with us. Joanne says good morning. Hot Air says, yeah, plenty of room. Kenneth says, how's the temperature dropped as you go across, Chillie? Actually, it's been cooler. Yesterday was seasonably comfortable, and today's looking like it's going to be really warm. Of course, it's windy. The seas are rough, as I've mentioned. And there I go on a lean again. It's really funny, as stable as I am in this chair, to be sitting here and all of a sudden I'm going over to this side. Like I feel almost like I can fall out of the chair. And then it comes back. So it happened to me in the bed during the night. Felt like I was going to roll out of bed. It was that much of a sway. And some people walking in this might probably have some trouble with it. But for me, it's just kind of weird to be leaning and, have basically no control over the lean. Kenneth says it looks good now. Thanks, Kenneth. Katie says all good now. I appreciate that. We're headed toward the Canary Islands. Maybe we can divert there. How about a medical emergency drop off? Yeah, Tom, we don't want to do that. So, Bob's with us. Have a great day, y'all. Thanks, Bob. Another storm is in the area of Southampton Port. Maybe we won't even get to disembarkation. Yeah, let's hope not. Good heavens. Todd's with us. Good morning, Todd. I'm really enjoying the stories as you move across the Atlantic. Thank you. I have a ton of content already, but the biggest problem is with my uploading. I've transferred all the stuff from to the cloud. Okay, so then I have to download it to my computer for editing purposes and getting it in the final form, and then upload it like wherever I'm going with it. And the upload speeds suck. They're terrible. The other day, it took me 9 hours to get the podcast up. So, who knows? We'll try it again today. I'm getting it up. And, I have been able to put a couple of the video clips and stuff up and do some posts on the blog site. By the way, my accessadventure.net blog, I had 27,000 hits this past month. That's a big number for that. And X, we have folks pop in from X. I'm at 274,000 followers on X. So we'll put up with a few sex bombers and stuff for, that big of a following. Hot Air says, be interesting. Ship goes to Brest Pants for dry dock, and we are hired on to help the workers. Yeah, right. I could see being. No, actually, the crew is hired on to do that, which is what they're going to do. None of them are going up. The few contracts are up, but the main body of the crew is staying on and helping with the dry dock. There's Sonny down Mississippi. Hello, Chillie, hot hat and all. On Chillie's Cuban Sandwich Review, the closed captioning called hat as Otter Tom. Oh, that's funny. I like Otter Tom better than a Hot Air Tom. didn't know that, Sonny. That's great. Thanks, Sonny. Gretchen's here. You're frozen again. Oh, well. Good morning, by the way. Good morning, Gretchen. Okay, not frozen. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have a feeling that's strictly Starlink controls, because nothing from my computer shows me that I was frozen. So, and Tom is listening in his headset over here and said the audio was consistent. So, who knows? Sonny says 60th anniversary. Yeah, that was surprising to me. Not that the Temps have been around for 60 years. They've done 60 years of Temptation cruises. I don't remember. I mean, the last few years, yeah. I don't remember Temptation cruises back in the 70s, 80s, maybe in the 80s. But yeah, I was really surprised at that number. What is the temperature where we are? It's supposed to, hey, Tom, what was it, 78 or something?
What?
The temperature.
77.
77. 77 and sunny, but windy with white caps. So I haven't been outside yet, Todd, but we're going to do that shortly. I need to make Hot Air Tom take his camera along and shoot some film of me for my for wheel power chairs. Oh, Hot Air Tom just says temp today 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And we have 3,309 passengers. Double occupancies around 4,000. Yep. So we're not full, but there's a pretty good crowd. We're 75% capacity, which isn't bad. Sonny says nice temps there. Yeah, it's a lot better. I flashed on my screen earlier this morning. It was 16 at the farm. I said, yeah, I'm glad it's them and not me. So even if when it's been cold here, it's not that cold. I mean, goodness, I'm running around in a t-shirt. I do have on long pants instead of shorts. But yeah, it's mid-70s. That might go into the calculator again. We'll see. Anyway, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for being with me. Don't forget, everybody, smash that thumbs up button. We're up to over 150 again today in the house. That's excellent. I do appreciate it, guys. Probably do a Facebook or several Facebook pop-ups during the day today, so you might want to keep an eye out for those. And then I'll be back on Friday. Again, Monday is going to be not sure totally how I'm going to do Monday, because Roger and I are going to go out and hopefully to get to a museum. But I think because of the time difference, we'll be able to, if I can find the transportation, we'll be able to go out, do the museum, and be back on the ship in time for me to do the show at normal time for you guys after I've done everything else. Because, that'll be, by the time I get back to the ship, it'll be, 4:00 in the afternoon when we do the show for the ship time. So the other possibility is pre-taping the show, which means that I'm up in the middle of the night again, even though I'll do that anyway. But I like the idea of having the show ready and getting back and doing it live. So that's probably what I'm going to gear toward on Monday when we're actually in port. Lisbon's become my first port, so we have 2 extra sea days before we put our tootsies on dry land again. Does that bother me? Absolutely not. So, last night for dinner, I wanted to point that out. Los Lobos, of course, that's a Mexican cantina, is going to go away during this dry dock. So we, Gary Older than Dirt and Hot Air Tom and I went to Los Lobos last night, and we had one of the most marvelous Mexican meals I've ever had. And I love Mexican food. We had guacamole made at the table. Hot Air Tom has onion allergies, so he had pre-ordered his dinner, so it didn't have any onion in it. And he had burritos, Tom? I think it was burritos. Anyway, and the guacamole, which actually the guy did it without onions in it. It actually it needed a little onion, but we wouldn't do that to Tom. So Gary had carne asada, which was really, really good. That's a steak, like a flank steak. And I had steak fajitas. I let the waiter, who's Indian, not Mexican, Indian, not Chief Fradiors, an actual Indian guy was our waiter last night. And so I let him pick. Matter of fact, I did give him two choices. He said, you want the fajitas and you want steak fajitas. I said, okay, I'll go with that. So I had steak fajitas, and oh my stars, that steak was so good. Of course, I still doctored it up with some salsa. They had really good salsa. I had a for an appetizer, because we haven't seen shrimp cocktails on this cruise so far, but I've had shrimp a couple times. But it was a mixture of seafood salad, and it had some killer hot sauce with it. So that was the appetizer, and then the steak fajitas were so good. It was, and then some coconut cake, really moist and huge piece of cake for dessert. It was just really good. So that was a surprisingly good meal for me. I was not expecting to have an outstanding meal on a restaurant they're closing down. So, but it was great. All right. Enough of that. We'll be doing a pop-up. Smash that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. We've been on a nice run on new subscriptions lately, so we'd like to keep that going. Go past the next 100 mark here in the next couple of days. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Pop-ups every day, probably once or twice a day. So just keep looking for them. And I'll be back with the regular show on, on Friday. Okay, guys. Y'all have a great day. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising. And hopefully one day soon, we'll all get together on the high seas, just like Tom and Bonnie and Gary and a whole bunch of people. So we'll see you guys later. Have a great day, everybody.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.